Good afternoon. This is the Chorus Call conference operator. Welcome and thank you for joining the Acea Group 2015 results and 2016-2020 business plan conference call. As a reminder, all participants are in listen-only mode. After the presentation, there will be an opportunity to ask questions. Should anyone need assistance during the conference call, they may signal an operator by pressing star and 0 on their telephone. At this time, I would like to turn the conference over to Ms. Ira Angrisani, Institutional Investor Relations Director of Acea. Please go ahead, madam.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for taking part in the conference call for the presentation of the Acea Group 2015 results and the business plan for the time 2016-2020. Alberto Irace, CEO of the company, will now disclose all the data, and then Alberto Irace, Demetrio Mauro, CFO of Acea since January this year, and I will be available for a Q&A section. Please, Alberto.
Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for listening to our conference tonight. I would like to start from the result of 2015. The EBITDA reached 732 million, up 2%, with the net profit in 175, up 7.7%. The dividend per share that we will propose to the General Assembly is 50 cents per share, up 11%. On that, we will say later in the business plan, we consider that a floor for a growth of in the bracket of 3-6%. The net debt at the end of last year was 2,010 million. The capex we realized 428.9 million of capex, increased more than 100 million compared with the previous year. Going to the breakdown of the EBITDA and the contribution of the different area, we see a growth of water for 6.4% due to the efficiency, the tariff increase. The consolidated companies at equity method. In the environment, we see a 5.3% increase of EBITDA, thanks to the increase of volumes of electricity sold in our Arias plant, and the increase of coming from the company that treats liquid waste, Aquaser. In the energy, we have a minus 3.3% of EBITDA, essentially related to not recurring items due to the reconciliation of revenues of the previous year, 2012-13, because of the migration on the new platform for the billing system. We had the opportunity to have a precise reconciliation of the revenues from the distribution company and the sales company, and so we had to take into account in this balance sheet. The grids are up over 0.9%, essentially for operational efficiency and new technology, and the contribution of the public lighting, and so on. As I said, the financial result, the resulting financial net debt is 2,010 million, essentially due to an improvement of the working capital and the improving of the management of our receivables. The debt structure is essentially 72% for fixed rate. The average overall cost is 3.3%. The maturity is 6.9 years. and the ratio at net debt on EBITDA at the end of last year was 2.7. As I said, we had an improvement of the working capital, essentially because the company improved the way to bill our final customers, and we receive our receivables from the customers. We have plenty of initiatives. You can see the detail in the next page, in improving the billing process. It is an entire program that we are developing, and we are on track on this program. We will see the replacement of the billing system by next July, but in that perspective, we already improved and aligned the previous two different billing systems and improved a lot our ability to bill the final customers. Going to the business plan. Acea, as you know, is the leading operator in Italy in water, from where we that contribute for 42% of our EBITDA. Then we have the energy sector that contribute for 15%, the environment and the grids, which is also a regulated activity that contribute for 35%. Acea is continuing to invest in essentially in regulated activity. That's what happened in 2015, and that's what will be in the plan, as we will see. The pillar of the plan is to maintain a very balanced risk profile, so maintaining a company exposed essentially on regulated activity. The growth is focused on regulated business and aim to gain all the opportunity of the new regulatory framework. We invested in last year in innovation, and we are ready to take advantage of all the opportunity, as we will see, coming from the regulation, the new framework of regulation that allows revenues coming from efficiency, and we think to do that with the financial strength. As we think the plan will fully finance the dividend and the capex program, and as dividend with a growth of between 3 and 6%. We did not include in the plan further opportunity, but we will discuss on that because we have already some targets. We are working on it, on the target, and also we have the opportunity of the consolidation process that can take place in the next year. What we define Acea 2.0 is a digital transformation that implies implementing a totally new operating model, allowing efficiency also in our staff activity, not only in operations, and basing all this program on the total uniformity of the system in place, which is essentially based on the SAP solution, in the use of in-mobility, so allowing, thanks to the uniformity in mobility, all the processes is possible in a real-time perspective, so allowing our final customer to relate with all our processes in a real-time perspective, and this allows and need a important change management that is in place. We are live since last September in all of our water companies in Rome, and we have a rollout plan in the next months for all our subsidiary that will be developed in the second part in the second part of 2016. We will have the go live for our electricity distribution company in April 16, and in July, as I said before, we will have the go live of the new billing system, which is fully integrated with the entire system. The business plan, we aim to reach 890 million by 2020, with the net profit of 276 million, with a net debt of 2.252 that imply a ratio net debt on EBITDA of 2.5. The dividend policy that we propose and we consider as a pillar of the plan is to assure a growth of in the bracket of 3-6%. So starting from the 50 cents of this year, growing in that range for the next year. As you can see, we will continue to invest essentially in our regulated activity, in the water, in the electricity, as well as in the environment for 10% and 16% of our capex, and the EBITDA coming from all the different business areas. The growth of the growth comes essentially from the environment for 34 million, the energy for 30, and the water for 69 million, 21 for coming from the electricity distribution. If you compare the old plan with the new plan, at 2019 we foresee a 864 million of EBITDA, and with this new plan we see in 2019 882 million, so growing compared with the previous plan, because we updated the efficiency coming from our Acea 2.0 program, and because we took the advantage of and coming from the opportunity of the new regulatory framework. Here we have some figures of the efficiency coming from by sector and by process, and we updated the efficiency that in the previous business plan reached 30 million on a recurring basis, updated up to 40 million. We had the opportunity to include some new program of efficiency related essentially to the new logistic that can be implemented according to the new model, the operational model. So we think to dismiss some of our site that we don't need anymore, thanks to the new operating model. The capex optimization, as you see, breakdown by different business area. The capex program is 2.4 billion, essentially with a slight increase in the grids, and in a percentage that with a slightly decrease in the water, also because of the different remuneration in the two sector. The 20% of it's allocated to energy and environment. I already said about the debt structure, and I can confirm that the plan is full financed and finance the dividend and the capex, maintaining a very solid structure that also will improve by the end of the plan. Going to the business area, the environment. We have opportunities in this area because, as we said many times, also in the past, we have the opportunity of laying in an area, Lazio, the region of Lazio, where there is we are short in the capacity of treating waste in this region of the country, and we think we can consider that an opportunity for Acea, and so for that we consider the growth in this area. You can see at chart 22 the breakdown of the EBITDA 15 compared with the EBITDA we foresee in 2020. The growth on the existing plan intended as the one we manage on the perimeter of volume at the time being treated. The development that include in partially the development on our existing plant in terms of increasing of their capacity, and some targets of acquisition and development of existing plant that we consider reasonable and already identified. We foresee an increase of volume treated and a CapEx program that is in the around of 262 million for this plan. In the energy, we consider to continue to focus on efficiency in terms of our capacity of improve our operation to better serve our customer, to receive our receivables, and in terms of improving then our working capital through the implementation of the new billing system and to innovate on our capacity to deal with the final customer through a totally new CRM system that we are developing, and through that we consider the opportunity of reduce our cost to serve using the digital experience as one of our pillar on which built a reduction of our cost to serve, as I said, but also improving the customer experience of our final customers. We see a growth of the EBITDA coming from this area that you can see in the breakdown at page 25, sorry, that give you in the different the driver of the growth, which we can discuss if you want. As I see the customers, we foresee a customer in a slightly reduction because we continue to believe in a strategy of more focus on the customers in the area in which we have a strong relationship, and we better know our final customers because of our historical presence in the area of Rome and Tuscany, where we maintain our focus also for the customer acquisition and the improvement of the customer basis also in the energy sales company. Water. The new regulation for 16 to 19, as I said, we deployed the Acea 2.0 project, which implies a totally new operating model and allows us to take advantage of the introduction of a component of the tariff linked to the quality that, as we will see, is one of the pillars of the growth. It is very important. We have also the opportunity to obtain the recognition of, which is, by the way, automatic, of the phony component, which is a component of the tariff to finance new investment. And of course, we have as a risk the rollout of the new IT platform in all our subsidiaries that will take place in the second half of 2016, but we are very much focused on it. Go to the quality factor. You have here a chart. The one is in page 28 that give you the maximum value of this component that amount to 104 million for the period 17 to 20. By the way, it could be also included the 16 that we did not take into account in this plan, but you could. It is not to be excluded as possible. We will discuss, and we will be ready to give better information when the tariff will be approved in the next April. The annual impact coming from the quality factor for our main concession is 35 million. In this business plan, we included 62 revenues coming from this specific component of the tariff, with an annual impact in 2019 of 24. That means that this target can be beaten in the next year, and that this increase of revenues is that we decide to include in the business plan is prudent. As you can see in the breakdown of the growth, the quality factor contribute for 24 million in 2019. The tariff effect due to the other component, thanks to the CAPEX program and the other component, like the phony is 22 million. The efficiency program contributed for 50 million by the end of the plan in the water sector. Here you have the figures of the RAB, as that is according with the CAPEX program. Will give you the development of the tariff, the different component. Going back to chart 28, you have also the figures of the phony component for ATO 2 and ATO 5, the company which, as you know, we fully consolidate in the plan. Going to the grid. The grid is, as you know, much more stable because benefits of a long history of regulation. Here you have the tariff effect, as you can see, and the efficiency program coming from the Acea 2.0 program, because the new operating model will apply also to our to the grid company and to the public lighting from next April, and we start to contribute in terms of efficiency also. The company, of course, contribute in terms of efficiency, because we are working on reducing the staff activity. The program of digitization is, of course, has an impact also in the typical staff activity like administration, HR, and so on. And so in the program, also the corporate company will contribute to the efficiency program for about 3 million. Going to the further initiative and opportunities, here you have a chart in which we give you two different drivers of further growth. We divided into words. One that is subject to the board of ACEA. In other words, targets and opportunity that comes from the market, on which we are already working, and since last month, and we have a potential impact coming from the acquisition that is subject only to the decision of the board, that can have an impact of 26 million on the business plan. We have already 3 targets on which we are working, and of course on that we will be more precise when and if there will be a deal in these banks in the next month or week. Then we have the consolidation initiative. To be clear, the taking full control of our subsidiary in Tuscany and Umbria and so on, that has a potential impact that is quite important. That means 500 million EBITDA increase possible, which is subject not only to the decision of the board and the activity of the management, but also to the decision of dismissing those participation of public shareholders that control at the time being those companies, and those decisions are outside to some extent the responsibility and the possibility of the management of the company, but that doesn't mean that we do not continue to work on that day after day, but we are perfectly aware that those decisions implies responsibility of those shareholders, and in some hypotheses also of the shareholders of ACEA S.p.A. also. Going to sum up, in the environment, EBITDA at the end of the plan of 91 million, capex program of 260 million, 262. The energy EBITDA of 138 million, capex program of 159. In the water, EBITDA of 380 million. The capex program of 1,042 million. Grids EBITDA of 277. The capex program of 878 million. Just to give you some statement of a conclusion, we continue to be strongly focused on increasing our efficiency. We have a very well settled program on which we are on track. That will have, by the way, very important milestones in this year, in 2016. We have a regulatory framework which is stable and to some extent predictable, even if, as you know, we argue with the national authority in a different aspect, especially in the water. But in any case, the regulatory framework is now stable for the next 4 years at least, and in any case is improving period after period. This plan has a significant investment program that, of course, is for the future of the growth of the company. We have a strong financial position, and I think we are working on building the company of the future with the ambitions to be one of the most efficiency and stable and able to ensure a stable return to our shareholders in the future, as we did in the last year. Okay.
We have concluded the presentation, and we are available for a Q&A section.
Excuse me, this is the Chorus Call conference operator. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one on their touchtone telephone. To remove yourself from the question queue, please press star and two. We kindly ask you to use handsets when asking questions. Anyone who has a question may press star and one at this time. The first question is from Javier Suarez with Mediobanca. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. This is Javier at Mediobanca. Thank you for taking my questions. The first question is on your assumptions on the business plan related to level of provisions. So what as you consider as provisions between the EBITDA and the EBIT? And also, which is your assumption in terms of cost of debt and taxation? That is the first question. The second question is on the guidance that you have given, providing with for the year 2016. When I do see the consensus, I see the net income after minorities close to 200 million euros. Do you feel comfortable with a net income guidance after minorities in excess of 200 million euros? And the third question is on the different business lines, starting with the waste business. Why there is a drop in the EBITDA between 2019 and 2020? Then on the waste business, can you give us a breakdown of your EBITDA by 2020, for example, between the equity consolidated subsidiaries, activities overseas, and then the core?
Excuse me, Javier, could you please repeat this last?
On the water business, if you can give us the breakdown of the EBITDA by 2020 between the equity consolidated subsidiaries, the activities overseas, and then the core water business. I'm just trying to unravel that number and to see which is coming from the pure RAB-based water activity.
Okay.
And then on the network business, if you can give us the breakdown of the EBITDA contribution between electricity, public lighting, and maybe other activities. And very lastly, on the energy business, can you explain us why you are expecting an increase on your supply activity when there is a significant drop in the number of sales? Obviously, you are expecting an expansion in the profitability of those clients, on the clients that you retain. But which is the risk that assumption implies? Many thanks.
Many questions.
Many questions, Javier. Okay.
Good.
Provision.
I would like to hand over to Mr. Demetrio Mauro for the assumption on level of provision, cost of debt, and the financial question. Then maybe I can answer on the drop of EBITDA in the environment. I can tell you right away it's due to the end of CIP 6 program that ends in 2019, and that's the drop, the reason of the drop of the EBITDA in 20. But you can see it from at page 22. If you look at page 22 of the presentation, there is the cessation of CIP 6 incentives. That value is worth 27 million and apply in 2020. But please, Mr. Demetrio Mauro, on the assumption level.
Yes, thank you, Alberto. And thank you, Javier, for asking this question. So I will take the first question on our assumptions as far as provisions are concerned on our strat plan. So the provisions that we are assuming go from 84 to 65 million approximately in 2020. So we are assuming a lowering level of provision. On this, you should of course add also depreciation. which will go from 250 approximately to 330 in 2020. So in other words, from EBITDA to EBIT, you should decrease approximately 340 million in 2016 up to 390 million in 2020. In terms of cost of debt, I think that a fair assumption for the next 2 years is to assume 3.3% as the running cost to service our debt. As Alberto has pointed out in his presentation, 70% of our debt is currently bearing a fixed rate, while the remaining 30% is on floating rate. The run rate of financial charges will decrease going forward in the plan for 2 reasons. Number one, because we are assuming a lowering debt going forward. And 2, because in the next 2 years we will have our most expensive debt, which will expire, and therefore the result of these 2 events will deliver a lower rate going forward. Did I answer your questions?
Yeah, and on the taxation?
Taxation in the plan.
Yeah, on the taxation. Well, you may have noticed that we have a one-off item in taxation in 2015. I appreciate that this can be counterintuitive because this is the result of the lowering of IRAP rate, which was included in Legge di Stabilità issued by the Italian government, which is reducing the rate from 27.5% to 24%. So this will trigger a positive effect as from 2017 onward, which we can assume in the region of approximately 12 million euros on a run rate basis, as I said, from 2017 onward. But in 2015, unfortunately, this has created a one-off negative item of approximately 20 million recognized in our P&L as the result of the recognition of a deferred tax asset which was accrued in the past. So, in other words, we have a non-cash one-off item negative for 20 million in 2015, which has increased our tax rate by 7 percentage points in 2015. But going forward, this will lower our tax rate, and more specifically from 2017 onward. So I think that a safe assumption for tax rate in the plan is approximately 32 to 33% in 2020.
Okay. Go to the different. I think I answered to the drop of EBITDA in the environment due to the CAP 6 that ends in 2019. Going to the water, you can consider the contribution coming from the companies, the subsidiary consolidated at equity method for 2020 in the round of 24 million, and you can consider in 2020 a contribution coming from the activity abroad of in the round of 10-11 million. Then we have 15 millions coming from the engineering activity, but I would consider the engineering in the core business because it's strictly related to the business, to the capex program and so on, and is also managed by a company of fully owned by Acea. For the grids coming from the public lighting, you will have a contribution of in the round of 10 million. And the rest you can consider the core business of the distribution. That's for going to the more strategic issue of the customers that, as you say, the decline in terms of numbers, but we consider to increase the customer base on the free market, which is the one that assures us margins. And so by the improvement of the mix, realized with the focus on increasing the free market customers that are supposed and willing to pay our receivables, we see the increase of margin and together the increase of the results on the last number of the balance sheet, because as we said, we foresee also a reduction of the provision related to the bad debt in this sector, thanks to the improvement of the customer base. We improved the way we subscribe new customers with the rating of the single customer proposed, and we industrialized the process in order to reach this target, and that's the reason of our focus in having less final customers. They pay in a stable way the company, on which we can have margin, but also receive our receivables. Did I answer your question, Jerry?
Yeah, of course you did. Two follow up. One is on the coming back to the CFO on the taxation. So we should assume a decrease in 2017 towards the level that you mentioned, 32-33%, and then a higher taxation in 2016. Is that correct? And then, no, I guess that was the question.
Okay. Yes, Javier, that would be correct. So, as I said, that the reduction in the IRAP rate will become effective as from 2017 onward. So we can expect quite meaningful decrease in our tax rate as from 2017, and we should land at approximately 32% by 2020.
I'm sorry, I owe you a further answer on net profit after minority in 2016. Let me say that we are confident that we will land in the round of 200 after minority. Might be slightly more, but of course it depends on taxation, supposing that doesn't happen what happened in 15, because actually if you perform the net result, the net profit result of 2015, it's in the round of 200 million.
So to be clear, you feel comfortable with a net income after minorities is likely about 200 million euros?
Yeah, I feel comfortable in that area, slightly more, 200 and something, 1, 2. That's the mere magnitude.
Fantastic. Many thanks.
The next question is from Enrico Bartoli with MainFirst. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everybody. A few questions on my side as well. First of all, on the waste business, could you please give us a hint on, let's say, the ramp-up in EBITDA that you expect over the business plan? San Vittore, if I'm right, is going to be operational by the end of this year. Then there are other plants expected to come on stream. Could you please guide us about the possible step up in EBITDA during the years of the business plan? A second question is related to the network business. You gave some visibility on the evolution of RAB, so it is going to 1.7 billion at the end of the plan. The capex has increased there. Could you elaborate a bit on, let's say, the kind of investments that are needed in this business and are growing this kind of growth? Then just a clarification on the RAB figures that you provide in the presentation. They are related. If when indicate the RAB in here 2019, that means that that's the RAB on which the tariff in that year is based. Is this right? And the final one is related to your growth in Latin America, potential growth you mentioned. Could you elaborate a bit on, let's say, the kind of investments that you are looking at, the area, and elaborate a bit also on, let's say, the capabilities within the company to manage an expansion abroad, so far from Rome, let's say. Thank you.
So about the waste. The waste is very much complex. Maybe in the next presentation we will be more clear, and we will disclose the different contribution. But to give you, we have a growth coming from our existing plant that is due to the increase of the volume treated of the existing plant. Also, we have development in the existing plant. That means to build a new line, for instance, the third line of San Vittore, which will operate by the end of this year, and that contributes in the magnitude of between 8 and 10 million of EBITDA. Just to give you for the third line of San Vittore, what does it mean? Which also we will have some plant that will increase the capacity. Also in the organic treatment that will contribute for I could say for in 2016 we will have contribution of Krikos that we will restart to operate the plant that was shut down in 2014. And we will is restarting right now, so it will contribute also in 16, but and in 17. We will have the increase of Aquaser that treat liquid waste for let me say 5.8 million. Of course, it is hard to explain because I give you the figure year by. I could give you by year, but it is. Let me say that we have some new initiative that to take the issue from another point of view. Let me say that we have a growth of 25 million that is coming not from our existing owning at this time plant, that are target already identified, development of related to the acquisition of the plants from the region Lazio, Colleferro, and development of a new plant on our existing greenfield area that we already own that we think to develop. So just to give you a magnitude, you have in the round of 20-25 million EBITDA that is coming from those more risky activity. Just to I don't know if I answered your question on it. On the RAB, of course, the RAB is related to on the year to the tariff. So it's tariff RAB. It's according to the different regulatory framework. In water, you still have N plus 2 years. In the as you know in the network, you have on plus 1. So I don't know if the figures are clear enough right now. So the RAB.
Yeah, no, it's very clear, very clear.
So. Going to the last question, to the activity abroad, we are talking about activity that can contribute for, as I said before, in the magnitude of 8-10 million in the area where we are already well eradicated, where we operated since many years. We are talking about Santo Domingo, Colombia, and Peru, where we already have activity, where we used to have important activity also in the past, and we have target there identified, on which we are working, and we consider that are reachable in the next year and manageable by our people that are there, as I am very much prudent on activity abroad, because it's, of course, are related to the capability of the company to manage the relationship there, and we are focused on the countries and where we already have an history, which are, as I said, Santo Domingo, Colombia, and Peru and Honduras, where we have participation already, and we manage already the companies. We have management there, and that's what we think we can do. Did I answer everything?
Sì.
Sorry, just some was missing some flavor on the capex plan you have in the network business, because this is usually, let's say, a mature business with DNA in line with capex, but you have a very significant growth in RAB. So just to understand what kind of capex you are going to deploying over the next year.
In the network. In the network, yeah. We of course we are investing in the classical capex of the network, grids, and in part are metering. In 2019 and 2020, we are talking in the round of 877 million. Smart activity, which is not only meter but also smart grid. We think to realize more or less 200 million in capex that are incentivized by the tariff. And our own capex in our concession in the area of Rome, where we manage the grids since many years, half of it since more than 100, and the other half since the beginning of 2000. So we manage this grid since a long time, and the capex program it's related to that concession.
Okay, thank you very much.
The next question is from Stefano Gamberini with Equita. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just a few things, if I may. First of all, regarding the external growth, you said that you can buy three companies for 25 million US EBITDA. So how much could you spend in acquisitions in your business plan, and what are the main targets you have? Are mainly in the water business, or close to your company? And so if you can elaborate a little bit more about that. The second question regarding the strong improvement of working capital in 2015. You underlined the different measures are you working on. Could you give us an idea if there were some securitization in the last quarter of results? And then regarding both in the water and the network business, could you kindly give us your allowed revenues for 2016 that you plug in your business with the breakdown of the OPEX component, the depreciation component, and the lower return, both for water and the distribution, and also if you can add what is the reference RAB you use for 16, because I notice it's still an estimate, the figure for 15, and I do not understand now why this is still an estimate while the 2015 figures are already in your report, and so what is your estimate for 16? The very last question regarding Pisa and Firenze Atos, the concession will expire in 2021. Are there any chance to merge these Atos or to have some postponement of concession thanks to the new Madia law? And sorry, very last question regarding what is the level of indebtedness in the companies that are consolidated at equity in the water business? Many thanks.
Stefano, many questions. So,
as usual.
I can miss someone, so please take note and remind me if I miss some of it. In the targets in water business, of course, it are outside the business plan, are on top of it. So our target on which we are working since last month, and this time I said we divided the target into the ones that only depends on the management, on which we are confident that we are able to have a positive conclusion on some of those deals by this year, which could be essentially in the area where we already operate in Italy. So you can think to deal in the area of Lazio, in the area of Tuscany, and in the area of Umbria and Campania. So there are some possibilities there. There are different dossiers on which we are working, and we think that some of those are reasonable, reachable by in this plan, and on which, of course, as soon as possible, we will be more precise and we will disclose any further development. To the concession in Pisa and Florence, I think that the concession on Pisa was already extended to 2026 or 5 for the year. I think that they are just at the final part of the extension, so they are extending. And as long as I know, also in Florence, they are thinking to extend the duration also on a standalone base, as they did in Pisa, because of the CAPEX program. And we will discuss with them. And of course, the extension through the merge is one of the opportunities. But as I said, in Pisa, they already extended on a standalone base because their business, their CAPEX program, and that's what already happened in other concessions. To give you the magnitude of the debt in those companies, if I remember, in Pisa, but we can be more precise if you want, but honestly I don't remember precise. Just to give you the debt, the ratio between EBITDA and the debt PFN and EBITDA in Pisa is in the round of 2.8, 2.9, something like that, which is the worst ratio among all the companies in Tuscany, and Florence is in the round of 1 point something. So it would not be a dilution for Acea if you are thinking of that. It would improve the ratio for Acea, the debt of those companies.
Improvement, Demetrio.
The improvement of working capital
and securitization.
Well, you see, then I hand over to Mr. Demetrio, but it is due to an operational improvement. The working capital is improving because we are billing better, sending more precisely our receivable to the final customer, and cashing the money better. So that's the main framework, the main framework on which we are working. But please, Demetrio.
Yes, Stefano. I take your question starting from the securitization and the factoring of receivables, and then I will expand on the receivables. So I fully appreciate your question, because as a matter of fact, if we were to include the impact of both the capitalization and the factoring of receivables in our 2015 financials, then the improvement of account receivables on one side and the improvement in the net debt on the other side would be even more meaningful. As a matter of fact, the factorization and capitalization decreased year over year by 90 million, 90 in 2015. So we were factoring receivables for 540 million in 2014, and we factor only, quote unquote, 450 million in 2015. So we decreased by 90 million factoring without recourse and capitalization in 2015. So the improvement in account receivables would have been even better if we were to adjust the impact of factoring in 2015 numbers. And by the same token, also on net debt, you would have the same impact. Having said this, as Alberto pointed out, the improvement in account receivables was not only quantitative, but was also qualitative. In other words, the rotation of receivables has improved significantly in 2015. The percentage of coverage has also improved, and we calculate the coverage ratio as a percentage between provision and expired receivables. So coverage ratio has improved from 35% to 43% in 2015. Not to mention all the improvement in procedures and processes, and of course also government. As a matter of examples, we are having 2 meetings every month, including the CEO, just to talk and address the improvement and the progress that the company is making on receivables. So this is a very high priority in corporate agenda, and I'm confident that the company will continue on the positive path going forward.
Yeah, going back to the RAB question about 2016, you will have a RAB in the round of 1 billion 500 for the grid and 1 billion 150 for the water in 260, 802 essentially, and 805 together. And going to the remuneration, you should know better than me because I see you are very precise on your. We consider the remuneration for electricity. Please give me the page, right, please. The allowed remuneration. 5.6 for electricity, and 5.3 for 3 something. To be precise, that would be 5.34 for water, and that's not including the IRAP that is included in OPEX, and 5.6 for the electricity distribution. That's what we considered as assumption in the business plan, which is which are the figure that comes from the decision of the authority of last year, of the last day of last year.
Okay, if I may, just 2 quick things. The first, if you still have already booked tariffs in the water business still to be collected at the end of 15, what is the amount? Probably you have in ATO 2 and ATO 5. And
we don't catch you. What do you?
The adjustment.
The adjustment. The amount of the adjustment still to be collected. And the second, if can give us the breakdown of the revenues you have among the different components on 16, clearly if you have for water and grids.
Well, I can't give you the revenues, but you see, just because this year in the final communication of the board, we introduced for the first time the guidance for 2016. I am sure you noted the guidance for including some aspect of guidance, including to the growth of EBITDA, the capex program, and the net debt we foresee at the end of the year. We think to update the guidance after the approval of the tariff that are supposed to happen in the next April, and we will be able to be more precise regarding the revenues level that will be recognized, because, for instance, it is not included there are not included any revenues for the quality for 2016 that were not included in the business plan. But it is an hypothesis. They could be approved also for 2016. So just to give you the magnitude of how can change things on regulation. So the figure of 16 are of course, and the guidance are very prudent and based essentially on the mechanic of the mechanic application of the rules approved by the authority, the one that are mechanically approved, that can be considered mechanic. Let me say we did not include in our any revenues that comes from decision that has to be taken.
Okay.
The last question was about the adjustment.
The adjustment.
At the end of 2015.
For the adjustment, also, that I say that for the next year, and to be precise, also for the introduction of some new component like the quality. The quality, for instance, it is structurally an adjustment because will imply the recognition of the revenues in a year. That, of course, will determine an adjustment because they will allow to bill the revenues 2 years later, the year in which it can be considered in the balance sheet. So the adjustment in the water are something complex. But going back to the past adjustment, we still have. Let me say 40 million for 802 in the round of that, 90 million for 805, which also, by the way, have just been approved last week, and then we have Gori for 70 million in the round. Those are the biggest one. For a total for all our companies, including the one not fully consolidated, in the round of 200 million.
So 200 million are still to be collected.
200 million still to be collected in the next year, of course. Just to give you the one that have a more impact in our balance sheet directly. 802 and 805, 40 million for 802, which is more or less the natural dynamic because we will always generate adjustment and we'll have to recover adjustment. And we have still to collect 90 million, more or less, in 805 with a very precise defined program that goes in the next year because we define the program through which we will cash this adjustment with the authority that starts from 16, I believe, from 17. Sorry, we start to recover those adjustments for 90 million more or less in 805. The rest are for the other company that we do not consolidate at 100%.
Okay, thanks.
The next question is a follow-up from Javier Suarez with Mediobanca. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Javier again. I'm sorry for coming back. On the guidance, you indicated that the company feels comfortable with a net income of 200 million euros, a bit more in 2016. And in 2017, given what the CFO has mentioned about the decrease in the taxation, does the company feel comfortable with a net income in excess of 220 million euros? Is that something that the company thinks is an appropriate guidance. And related to that, since the dividend increase is based on basically in a range that goes between 3 to 6%, and given that in 2016 and 17 the growth at the bottom line could be significant, could we expect that the dividend growth could be at the upper end of the range during the next 2 years? And last question is on the net income.
Last one,
yeah.
No, you can answer. You can ask everything.
many thanks. And the very last question is on the net income for 2020, the guidance. Can you give us the guidance post minorities? Thank you.
Let's try to proceed with order. Dividend. We had an increase of 11% this year, so we can expect in that policy that in that bracket that we indicated between the 3 and the 6, it will depend on so many aspects that we cannot foresee at the time being. As I said, we will introduce a refinement of the guidance probably in June when we will approve the figures of the first half, and we will have the tariff approved, so we will be more precise for 16. But going back to 17, and of course will be affected also the 17 because some of the tariff approval will affect not only 16 but also 17. You can expect a further increase of the net profit according to the growth that we indicated of EBITDA in 17. So with an increase in the range of the 4%.
Net income at 2020 post minorities.
Post minorities. Yeah, would be something. As I said, you can. It is very hard to answer this question.
Yeah, but I don't expect, frankly, I don't expect this to be material. I think that a fair assumption would be between 10 and 15 million for minorities. No more than that.
10, 15. Javier?
Okay, and then again on the net income guidance, so we should expect something like 205 million euros. Is that what you are saying as a net income guidance? Yeah.
Just to give you a magnitude to have also to the bottom line, you can expect the growth of 4% in the bottom line year by year.
Yeah, but it seems that growth is going to be higher at the beginning. Is that a fair assumption?
Let me say that will be the 4% at least, but then we will see because there are so many things that can change on a regulatory side that can have a positive and negative impact, and so it is very, very hard to give you more than that guidance.
Okay, many thanks.
The next question is a follow-up from Enrico Bartoli with MainFirst. Please go ahead.
Hi, sorry, very, very quick question. Could you please quantify the one-offs in the energy business in the fourth quarter this year, please? 2015, obviously.
The one-off in Q4. The one-off is 12.5.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
The next question is a follow-up from Stefano Gamberini with Equita. Please go ahead.
Just a quick clarification about slide 28. You wrote that the impact included in business plan from the quality factor is 62 million euros between 17 and 20, and then you write 24 from 19 onwards. So it's not clear to me if I have 24 million in both in 19 and 20, and so if this is true, this means there's just 14 millions are in the period 17 and 18. So could you help us to understand a little bit better this
You got
slide?
exactly. We foreseen that means the chart means that we did not consider all the increase that is possible. So we were more safe, and we considered, let me say, 50% of the possible increase from 17 and 18, and 24 million, which is 11 million less than the maximum, for 19 and 20 in this business plan. That means that it can be beaten. It could be beaten. The best word possible is to have 34 million from 2016, which is possible.
Okay, but just to understand, in your figures, you plug into your figures 24 million for 19 and 20, and what is the level in 17, 18, more or less?
17.
17, okay, for each year.
Mm-hmm.
Many thanks.
As a reminder, if you wish to register for a question, please press star and 1 on your telephone. For any further questions, please press star and 1 on your telephone. There are no more questions registered at this time.
So thank you all of you.
Thank you so much to everybody.
And we are available for further information.
If you want, and
if you want.
I hope we're enough.
Bye-bye.
Enough clear.
Bye.
Bye to everybody.